My name is Archie Elliott. I am the Assistant Chief of the Nottoway Indian Tribe.
My name is Billy Elliott, Archie Elliott's brother.
And who's older?
I think he is.
Yeah, about 2 years.
So, did you both grow up in this area or in Virginia?
We both grew up right outside of the area. Basically, it's all one big area, but we were more of the southern part of the area.
Tell me what life was like growing up.
Well, country living.
Yeah.
Billy was more of the outdoor type person, hunting, fishing, and that type thing with my uncles and granddaddy and all. And I guess I was more or less the inside type person. But it was all rural country living.
What was the town?
Huntersville, Virginia, Nansemond County.
So, why did you take to being outside?
Well, my grandfather loves to fish. And my father, he had a small fishing boat, and they oystered. And the name of the boat was Nelson. I think a hurricane came and sunk it. But all of my uncles, they like to fish, hunt, and we can tell some great stories.
So, did you both know? Was it spoken about a lot being in the Nottoway tribe, or was that something that came later?
I think going back to the early 50s, that's as far back as I can remember, my grandparents and all always said that we were Native American. And we have pictures showing my mom and my sister and my younger brother attending powwow type activities in the 50s. So what was that, 60, 70 years ago. So it's been in our family for a long time.
Do you recall what the perception of the Nottoway tribe was back in the 50s?
Back in the 50s, it was more of finding genealogy and to tie it down to the Nottoway tribe, it was because of the genealogy that we found at that time. Back when they started, we used to have to go to each courthouse or each clerk's office to get information to really tie down what our genealogy was. Whereas now all you have to do is go on the internet.
And what is your family history?
Our family history is, on my mom's side, they were both Native American descendants. On my dad's side, his family were Native American descendants. And his mother was not, whereas his father was. So on both my on my mother's side, both sides of her family were Native American, had Native American descent. And on my dad's side, one side of his family.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Well, let's. So when you were growing up, how long did you grow up within? Sorry, what was the town that you?
Huntersville.
Huntersville. Before you moved, was it your entire going through school age in Huntersville?
Yeah.
And for me, going to college, you move away, and took about 20 years to go back home.
How has Huntersville and this whole region changed since you recall back in those days, being school-age kids, and changed much, or?
Actually, from our front yard, we used to hit golf balls out into the open fields. Now in the open field right across from the house we grew up in, there's a Walmart, McDonald's, gas stations. So it changed from rural farm area to Walmart.
It used to be where everybody knew the same people. When you walk down the street, everybody knew you and chastised you if you did wrong. But now, I don't think that there is 5 houses in the community that used to be there. It's all new houses, all new people. And that makes a big difference as far as growing up.
How do you think, which direction do you think the area is heading?
I think it's for the best. Because when I came up, or we came up, it was outdoor toilets. The city came in and they put sewage in, water in, and now all of the homes are new. So it has to be for the best.
Do you all have electricity?
During that time, yes.
Some of my neighbors didn't, but we
Definitely.
did.
The old school, they didn't have it. They didn't have indoor plumbing, but they had electricity.
Since your heritage is so rich and goes back so far, do you ever just think back to your ancestors who lived in this area? And I mean, obviously, I'm sure you do, but what are your thoughts associated with them before, Europeans came and colonized?
I think that they enjoyed their lifestyle at that time. Different communities develop over a period of time, but I think they were well adjusted to their lifestyle. It was unfortunate that my ancestors were actually removed from the area, and that's part of being modern.
Hold on one second, Archie.
Going back to our ancestors when I guess the Europeans came over, they had adjusted to the lifestyle here. They had adjusted to living in permanent, temporary dwellings. Our ancestors might not have had some of the inventions that the Europeans had when they came, but our ancestors also had some things medically and everything else that the Europeans did not have. So the Europeans were more sophisticated, probably in weaponry, and our people were more sophisticated as far as living on the land and surviving on the land.
Yeah.
This is a question we ask everyone across the state. What's your favorite place here in Virginia? Why?
I would think this is being on the water almost anywhere in Virginia. Being here because you have a feeling for it. But I live on the water, so I just enjoy living on the water. But I would say being around the water is one of my favorites.
This area is great for fishing, hunting, and that's what I like to do. There's deer, there's turkey, there's spots, there's croakers, there's trout, and that's in this area, and crappie in the water, fresh water. So if you're an outdoors person or a sports person, this is the ideal for it.
Do you feel any close to your ancestors when you do some of these?
When I'm by myself, I wonder how did they do it? How did they survive? If I'm hunting, I've got a gun, and I don't do very good with that. And I'm wondering how did they make out with a bow? So they had to be a lot smarter probably in those particular things than I am.
Archie, what's the feather that you got in your hat?
It's something that...
Can you show us too?
Oh.
I can get that afterwards too.
It is...
Just do that one more time, I'm sorry.
is something that it shows the Native American spirit within a person to me. The same as when we use sage to smudge. It is something that our family did and we continue to do. We have a sacred feeling towards certain type feathers. It just gives you that Native American feel. And every time you put it on, you think about your ancestors. The same as every time I smudge, I think about my ancestors. So the importance is, when I put anything on with a feather, it reminds me of my ancestors. It makes me think about them.
What kind of bird is it from?
This one is from a hawk. But we use hawk feathers, turkey feathers, mostly turkey feathers.
Did the Nottoway use feathers? Did they decorate? Were they decorative like that, or?
Yes. We did not use them the way the Western movies showed them being used. We did not wear war bonnets. We didn't have feathers down to the ground because you can't run through the woods with a war bonnet on. And we are woodland Indians, which means we lived in the eastern woodlands. So the feathers played a great part.
So you have a very interesting perspective on when people say, what's Virginia history? Well, your history is before Virginia, so how do you reconcile that?
I can say that this area was Nottoway land at one point. The Europeans came and the land, through legal activities and some illegal activities, were taken away from the Nottoways. But I guess it's part of life, you just continue on. What happened to our ancestors we can appreciate, but we have to realize that we have to move forward. My parents always told us, you will get an education. So part of getting an education is to be able to adapt to current events and current activities. So what I think about what happened to my ancestors is one thing, but we also learn that we have to adapt to how we have to live today.
All right, last question. What are your hopes? Billy, we'll start with you.
One of my hopes is that one day, as a tribe, we will be united with other tribes. Right now, I think there's 9 different recognized tribes, right, for the state of Virginia. We can do more as a group than we can as one tribe. And that would be something to look forward to in the future.
I think that one of the biggest objectives we have is to be able to let people know of the history, the true history of Native Americans in Virginia and in this country. What we see on TV representing Native Americans wasn't really how it was. That was something made up so that they can sell movies. But a lot of people don't realize that there are still Native Americans living in this area. And some of us are from European descendants also merging, and we are Native American with black ancestors. So we would like to show that there are Native Americans still living in this area, and we would like to be appreciated for that.